Washington, D.C. is more than a little familiar with issues that shock and awe, but you'd think the name of its NFL football team wouldn't be among them. But it is. That's because it's this name. And to Native groups, some football fans, even the White House, it's racist. So the pressure is on to punt the R word off the team. But as the CBC's Paul Hunter discovered, what seems like common sense to many is meeting major resistance.
Let's go get it out, get back! Let's go get it! Kick the Bears' ass!
In the seemingly never-ending debate over the nickname of the Washington football team, this much never changes. Fans, the rabid, tailgate partying, headdress-wearing fans tend to have this view.
It's part of our DNA. That's why we sing Hail to the Redskins, because we support the Redskins. We love them. It's not anything bad. It's not anything negative. It's not something we've ever thought is a negative thing. We support it.
Of course, the rest of the world tends to have another view, which is, why is it that in the 21st century a debate on whether this term is offensive is even happening? For years, the case against such a nickname has been clear. Ask yourself a hypothetical. Would anyone now give a team this nickname? Or this one? Of course not. So how is it that this is acceptable?
I think it was given as an honor name, so I don't see a problem with it.
I've been a Redskin fan my whole life. As a matter of fact, I am part American Indian. So to me, it's a sensitive subject, meaning I see both sides. But the Redskins, to me, I can separate football and social. So to me, Redskins means football.
Indeed, the team's owner, Dan Snyder, echoes the team's fans. In an open letter to them this season, he calls the name a badge of honor and points to its long tradition. Here's a photo from the 1930s. And here's an excerpt from the team's original fight song. Those lyrics have since been changed, but the team's owner vows he'll never change the name. And yet, after all this time, others are changing. Some U.S. newspapers and online publications are now refusing to use the name. The pressure to change is suddenly piling on. Barack Obama, in an interview this fall.
I've got to say, if I were the owner of the team, I'd think about changing it.
Then what many football fans would call an even higher power. NBC sports commentator Bob Costas.
It's an insult, a slur, no matter how benign the present day intent.
Yeah, stadium, I think there'll be about 1,000 people.
1,000 people. So this, to me, this is going to be the largest organized protest since 1992 when the team went to the Super Bowl.
All of it welcome support for Washington Post sports columnist Mike Wise, who's long argued the name is pure and simple a hurtful racial slur. Full stop. To those who back the name, he says,
there will be a fight and it will get ugly, and many of them will be shown to be on the wrong side of history when all is said and done.
Wise understands why some are attached to the name, but is baffled by the depth of that attachment.
This is their church, and I respect that. But I would argue it doesn't matter what the church is named. It's a frickin' name of a team. You're not penciling a mustache on the Mona Lisa. It's a name of a team.
For those opposing the name, it doesn't help that all these years after colonial settlers effectively wiped out North American Indians, they are a people with minimal political clout.
Jordan Reed split wide to the right. Nobody's covering him. Griffin.
And so the game and the name continues.
And it is ruled a touchdown. He came down in bounds.
Now enter Greg Deal and his performance art, The Last American Indian. An American Indian himself who juxtaposes his people's past with an often indifferent, sometimes intolerant present.
I would say probably 80% of the people that I've come in contact with in my visual art and in my performance art have been overtly bigoted or even racist. And maybe it's because I'm in Washington, D.C., and there's the team informs that conversation a little bit. But that's the only place I've ever been called a Redskin. That's the only place I've ever had somebody say how, or say look at the engine, or slap their mouth, or any number of other stereotypical noises or sounds or words that can be associated with that.
Indeed, as it turns out, this is that kind of country. For Greg Deal, whose art explores such stereotypes and attitudes, the football debate merely underlines the larger issue.
For years, I've had people tell me that, you're being too sensitive and you should let it go and it's not a big deal. Those all, of course, are arguments that coincide with the Washington football team. And, but I maintain that I'm not, that there is a relationship that is really having a difficult time existing between America as a whole and indigenous people. And it's upsetting. It's really upsetting. My name is Greg Deal. I am a member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. I am a husband and a father and an artist.
My name is James Singer. I am from the Navajo Nation.
My name is Giovanna Kintlashvili. I am Navajo.
Deal has now made this video to put a face on the nickname issue.
My name is Dina Around Him. I am a citizen of the Cherokee Nation.
To underline the nickname is an insult, to, in effect, turn up the volume.
I am not a caricature. I am not a mascot.
I am not a caricature, and I'm not a dead relic of the American past.
Change the name.
Change the name.
Change the name.
Hey, let's go!
I support the name. I support the name. $1 pins. $1 pins.
And although it gets little attention on this side of the border, there's another football team that has the same logo, the same colors, the same nickname as Washington's, and has been having the same debate over what to do about it. A football team in Ontario. It's the semi-finals in an Ottawa Amateur Football League. Nepean versus the Bel Air Lions. For years, the Nepean team has borrowed its nickname, logos, and colors from their NFL counterpart, thinking it's just a name, never intending harm, but lately recognizing maybe they were wrong. Team President Stephen Dean.
We had a situation where, after a game was over, some of the smaller kids were off playing in the corner as the second game was going on. And one of the players came up to his father and said, "Dad, what's a racist?"
And suddenly came a realization. A human rights complaint had been filed. And the team, all of them, volunteers, thought long and hard about a word with which harm was never meant. And this year, after some 3 decades with this identity, the team took a deep breath and did what its namesake in the U.S. still refuses to do.
We said, it's time for us to change. It's no longer the sports team that you want to be proud of. It's a name that's become quite divisive, and that was something that we certainly wanted not to be perpetuating.
It'll cost the team more than it can afford to change its colors, logo, everything, but it insists it's the right thing to do. This game would be its final victory as named. And though the epic scale of the Washington team cannot be compared with Nepean, on principle, well, on that, as it turns out, there's no comparison either. Will DC's team ever change its name? Says Mike Wise, it's up to the league's commissioner.
Fear that Roger Goodell is going to be associated with something in history that's just not right, uncouth, and not for this day and age, is going to make him force the owner to either sell or change the name. And I believe it will happen in less than 5 years. 3, if things get uglier.
The unfortunate thing about that is it's a private corporation and it all comes down to one person. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Again, I think that the conversation is the most important part of this entire process.
A conversation years in the making, now out in the open field and headed maybe for the end zone. In a place still struggling with the impact and meaning of the curiously ever popular R word. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Landover, Maryland.